Hi, and welcome to Learn with Sawgrass. I'm Rhonda, the Education Manager here at Sawgrass, and thank you so much for joining us. Whether it's now and live or whether you join us later in the recordings, we're so glad to have you here. We do come to you every Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. and then every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. So thank you so much for making this part of your week. Rhodes is in the chat. He is there to answer questions, and I actually do have a special question for you today. So if you will, please respond to Rhodes. Just let him know your opinion on this. But if we were to offer a smaller cartridge, so a cartridge that holds less ink, and of course that would mean it's at a lower price, would you be interested? So would you be interested in buying a smaller cartridge that has less ink, but then of course you're not paying as much when you pay? So please let him know your opinion. And again, if you do have any questions or comments, throw them in there. I'll pester him a few times today to see exactly what's going on. So I am really excited about what we're doing today. It's one that I've been wanting to do for a while. And it is about upcycling your wardrobe with VersiFlex. Now, these are not items out of my wardrobe. I did make a trip to Goodwill yesterday. So this wonderful stack of 5 items cost me $25. So we're going to break it down. We're going to start. I'm going to get through as many as I can today. If I do not get through my entire pile, I will make sure that we post pictures in our Instagram stories at a bare minimum, or I will put them in the community and YouTube as well. So please check that out if I don't get all the way through my pile, but we're gonna get started. So I guess I'll run through it. So this is, I paid $4.89, and this is a pair of gray sweatpants. This was a kid's shirt. I kind of think that we all have some of these in our wardrobe, these plain t-shirts that we picked up somewhere that may have a little bit of a, maybe be a little stretched out a little bit, but would be good for maybe a night shirt or a round town shirt. This one actually was $2.49. These are some jeans. Now, I could have picked from all the jeans. I did go with a lighter color of jeans. I'm really excited about these. These were $5.99. I think they're probably my most expensive item. Picked up a nice pair of cargo pants, khaki pants that I'm going to make really awesome. And I got those for $4.89. And then I finished up with a polo shirt because I was thinking that, you know, for men to have a sports shirt, especially, we've been talking a lot about personalization. We've been talking a lot about kids' sports and high school sports. So I was thinking a nice shirt that a dad could wear to support their athlete would be awesome, and keep it in that polo range. So I'm really excited about this one. This actually was brand new, never worn. $4.89. All right, let me flip my clothes back over, and we're gonna get started.
Real quick, will you repeat your question? We have just some more people in the call now.
Yeah, so I do have just a general question. I'm going to be, so just so everyone knows, anytime you see me for the next week or so, I'm going to be asking this question. So any workshops I join or anything, I'll be putting this in as a poll question. But for today, just in the chat, would you be interested in us having smaller cartridges, so cartridges that have less ink in them, but at a lower price? So would you be interested in buying a smaller cartridge at a lower price? Would that be something that interested you, or that you'd be interested in us offering? All right, let's get started. Okay, so let's talk. I am doing all of this with VersiFlex. All of these items are cotton or cotton blends. I did think about picking up some higher level blends, but I thought these would work really well. But all of these would be things that you would need the VersiFlex light paper for. So just a reminder, This is a printer with VersiFlex ink. And then it does have that VersiFlex light paper that we'll be using today for these items. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. All right, so I am going to be printing on tabloid size paper today. So I'm actually just going to use a blank sheet or a custom canvas for all of these. The reason I'm going to go with the 11 by 17, if I were to use a custom canvas, I would still be setting it to the 11 by 17, so I might as well use the blank sheet. I really just want this image to be as large as possible. So I found this awesome dragon we're going to use. I do, again, I just want to make this as large as I can. You'll see why when we do it. A little too big. Now, we were talking last week about bleed areas. You are noticing that on my blank sheet, I do have margins. I do want to stay within those. So nothing gets cut off. I'm actually going to make this red. Now, we've talked a little bit about colors, and you know, I have done this for a long time. So I can go into the slider, I can choose somewhere in the reds and just know kind of where in the color area that I want to click to get the red that I want. That's just something that I've learned over time, and it's kind of like one of my superpowers. What you can do is I would Google hex code for fire engine red and then just place this here. So just put it in that hex code box. But I know this is going to get me pretty close to where I want to be for my red. And I'm ready to go. All right. Now I'm going to send that over, but we're going to go ahead and set my press real quick and do a pre-press. Now, when I am looking at any fabric, any pre-made clothing that I'm going to do, I know I'm going to put this on a leg. And one of the things that I need to consider is the seam. So I think I had this conversation yesterday in the workshop we were doing. You know, really depending on where I put it, how much the seam is going to impact. Because what happens is if that seam lifts the fabric too much in those areas, you're not going to get an even press. Now, I believe with this particular leg, I should be okay without a pressing pillow. I'm just going to put it a little bit higher on the leg, and I don't think that's going to impact me. We are going to look at one in a little bit where it would. So let's go ahead and pre-press this. I think I want this to go decently close to the full bottom on here. What I may do on this, I think I am going to insert a pressing pillow just to be safe. And I'm going to have to adjust my press a little bit. Actually, pro tip. Make sure that you have the pants so that it's going on the front side and not the back side. Forgot to check that. Okay, so I'm going to put this down here and I'm going to make sure that my design kind of fits on top of that pillow. I'm going to go ahead and rip my tag off. and use scissors so I get the whole thing. All right. Okay, now I know my pressure is going to need to go down a little bit. I'm going to have it a little too high, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust that. Check that. That's a little on the tight side, so let me look just a little bit more. I do have that pressing pillow in there, so I am getting a little resistance from that pressing pillow too. I actually think I liked it better the first time. We're going to go up just a little bit. There's my pants, and we're ready. All right. Okay. All right, there's my design. We're gonna go ahead, cotton for the fabric, change my paper to tabloid. And we are ready to go. Now the only thing that kind of concerns me is the width of this. Looking at it, I'm afraid that it's gonna be too wide. Actually, let's see, so I'm going to risk it. I'm going to take the pressing pillow out so I go a little bit wider. No, I'll just make it more narrow. And I'm going to do 2. So I'm going to take that down to about 4.5 inches wide. And I may do 2 of these guys, let's see. Okay. And I'm going to repeat him. Now, because of the size, I'm not able to fit 2 on a page, so I don't really have to do a repeat on that. Just going to leave it as the one guy. Let's see. There we go. My colors, it's cotton. I've got it going on my tabloid paper. Let's try again. Yeah, there we go. I did use that crop to image area, so I got rid of the extra white on the paper, which helped me be able to put 2 of these guys on there. Perfect. Okay, I think I'm good. All right, let's see how this turns out. We'll go ahead and send that over.
Just some feedback to your earlier question. Lou said that she would be interested in a smaller cartridge. Miriam and Lori are going to put the question in their groups to see,
Okay.
to get some more feedback.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback on that. Okay, that is sitting to the printer. the printer is doing a little bit of maintenance. So it's just taking a minute to send that. All right, so while that is thinking, let's go ahead and start thinking about our next design. So on my shirt, I wanted to do kind of a fall, maybe a leaf or a pumpkin motif, because I think that would be really adorable here on this little pocket area. That area is going to be roughly, I'm going to say probably 2 1/4. I'm going to treat it as a square, and I'm going to go about 2 1/4. Gives me a nice big design in that area. So we're going to go ahead and click on design. I'm going to open my custom canvas and go 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. I'll start designing. All right. We're going to look at, not school, we're going to look at autumn. And I'm also, I don't know if you do this, but I'll throw in a few different categories if I know multiple categories may have what I want. Oh my gosh, I may use one of those moths. But check this out. Now, I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. VersiFlex ink, anytime the VersiFlex ink is laid down, the expander, well, let me restate that. Anytime the VersiFlex ink is laid down on VersiFlex light paper, the expander is also laid down. That's what makes it self-weeding. That's what makes you be able to go onto the cotton. But because of that, it is going to go on wet. Now, it doesn't have to go on super wet. You do have roughly 10 to 15 minutes. So I am able to safely do 2 designs. I have found that as long as you're careful with the way you design, it going on wet doesn't really impact anything. So as you see, I'm trimming this down. I'm just making sure that I'm not touching the ink, but I have a design that works well for that. So we'll go ahead and put that on there. So I'm going to go decently low on this first one. You notice that I'm hovering my hands over to position it where I want it, and then I'm dropping it. Now, the ink is wet, but what you need to understand is that it does stick to whatever you're pressing onto. So you don't really have to worry about if I were to touch this that it's going to move. It's going to stay in the right spot. So as long as you're not trying to physically pick it up and remove it or move it around, you're going to be perfectly fine. All right. And we are set. All right. Again, 375 for 30 seconds, so it is rather quick. And it is a hot peel, so I'm going to go ahead and peel that off. All right. So as you can see, this fabric didn't take too great to this. I'm believing this can wash off. I think it's just where it was hot because I pressed this whole area and didn't have any issue. And this was not the area that got printed. So I think we're okay. I think I can wash that out, but it did get a little discolored. But I think I can wash that. But you can see how beautiful that dragon is on those pants. Now, if this were an upcycle and I were to mess up my pants, not a huge deal. They're not pants I was planning to wear anyway. So look at that beautiful dragon on that fabric. And how cool that looks. All right, so I'm not going to put the second dragon on. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next project. Now I'm going to do this one a little different. So I'm actually, my big thing is I want to make sure that the pressing area is as even as possible. So I'm going to put the pressing pillow underneath. I still think this isn't going to be as thick as those other pants. So I'm going to lay that down.
Lori mentioned in the comments that it could be that the last time those pants were washed, the person used a fabric softener, a liquid fabric softener.
Quite possibly. I did think about the fact that I should have rewashed these last night to get that fabric softener out of there. But will that wash out, or did I ruin it?
She said it will discolor with the heat, but Lori, will that wash out with cold water? She said sometimes.
Sometimes. So we'll give it a try and see. It didn't seem to do it with this. Or it may be because I'm using the, well, we'll figure it out. At least you're getting to see how the designs look. If I messed up with a fabric softener, I apologize. Didn't really think about that, and I should have. So, lesson learned, make sure that if you're using pre-worn clothes and you're upcycling, that you are washing out any fabric softener before you try to press onto it. Same thing would go with sublimation too. Okay. One moment, that's moving a little slowly. Little Wi-Fi issue. There we go. Oh, that guy is very pretty. Let's go back and see if there's anything we would rather use. Any of those are really nice, but I do really love this guy. We're just going to give it a second. My Wi-Fi is suddenly not liking me as much. Last time hitting weight worked. Let's see. There we go. Oh, I do love that. Now, one thing that you could do with this is kind of do it in a color that would work with that. Or you can leave it as the blacks. I'm going to leave it as the blacks because I think this is really cute. Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and hit print. Now you notice I'm just printing, I'm not going to the save screen. And that's because these are all one-off things. If this was something that I would be creating a lot, it would save me a lot of time to just save that and then have that to open up when I need to print it. And you actually can just print from the product detail page, so you don't have to take it all the way back into the designer each time. And of course, if you do design somewhere else, that's perfectly fine as well. You can bring pretty much any file type into this program just by hitting that create button. All right, now I do not need to adjust for light colors on this. I know this is dark, so I know this is going to be good. I'm going to change my paper size because I do have the larger paper in there for my other projects. We'll go ahead and print. Now normally, yes, I would put multiple things on this page and not use quite this big a piece of page for this little of a design. Okay, so next up is going to be our jeans. And what I'm going to attempt to do is cover this entire pocket area with this design. So let me grab out my ruler. And this looks like, to cover this pocket, I may go just inside the pocket, just because it looks like, let me show you. It looks like this pocket may curve a little bit and maybe a little narrower at the bottom than it is at the top. So I think what I'm going to do, let's see, if I'm crazy, 5.75, yep, it does. So I'm probably going to go inside of the line and go about 5.5 all the way up, and I'm just going to cover this part. So I'm going to go 5.5, 4.75 should be. Yeah. So 5.5 across, 4.75 up. Rose, remember those numbers because I know I'm going to forget them. All right. Oh, that is beautiful. This would be really great to do this design and do something that works with it on sweatpants or pajama pants and turn an old t-shirt into a set of pajamas. It'd be a great thing to do with this. Okay. And again, 375 for 30 seconds. And let's see, we're almost there. Any questions, Rose?
No questions in the chat right now. A lot of good conversation, but
Good.
amongst themselves.
All right. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. How adorable is that? Just that little touch, that little bit of cuteness. How cute is that? Did you see?
That's very
Isn't that adorable? Okay. Really happy with that one. Okay. As you can see, I really love pressing pillows, especially for days like today where I'm going on to things that do have seams and uneven areas. I am able, and we do have multiple sizes of these. This is kind of the smallest one I have, and I knew it worked pretty well for all of these projects. I think I want to get as much of the elastic off just to create an even pressing surface as much as possible. We're going to go there on that pocket. See how this works. Okay, feels good. Now, of course, and what you're seeing that I have not done, because I've been hurrying, is a finishing press. So I will go back and do a finishing press on all of these. Finishing press is just about 5 seconds. It increases wash fastness, is probably the biggest reason that you do it. All right, Rose, what are those numbers I asked?
So you're going to go 5.5 across, wide,
and 4.75
vertical.
tall.
We do have a good question about working with VersiFlex paper.
Mm-hmm.
Shelley asked, can you reuse the paper once it has been printed on?
I would say, wait, it was 5.5 and 4.75, right?
That's right.
I would say that if you were to cut it, so like where I cut the paper, that's fine. I cut it before it goes into the press. If it goes into the press, it can't be used again. But as long as it doesn't go into the press, you should be fine. So the only issue, of course, is you're going to have to create a custom paper size in your Sawgrass print utility. And then, of course, you have to be a much better cutter than I am. I'd probably use some sort of straight edge or cutting device to make sure that you're getting a straight edge, because if that edge isn't straight, there is a greater chance that it is going to get stuck in the printer. So I would be very careful with that, but is it doable? Yeah, definitely. All right, so what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to go into my backgrounds, and I'm going to go into my patterns, and I'm actually going to look up an animal pattern, because I think this is going to be adorable. We're going to do some animal spots. And of course, if you haven't played with our pattern maker before, you can change the spacing. So if I wanted to make that pattern bigger, I could. If I wanted to make it smaller, I could do that as well. I'm going to make that bigger. You also, in this case, could do a exact fit, so it's one, instead of doing doing more of that pattern. I like it as the pattern, so that's what we're going to do. We'll go ahead and print that. So we're going to print that out. All right. Okay, so we're going to send that over to the Sawgrass print utility. We'll give that just a minute to go. All right, that looks great. We're gonna go ahead and change this to my tablet again. Make sure that adjusts for light colors because of that yellowish color in there. Make sure that goes. VersiFlex Light, cotton. It is denim, but cotton is basically the base material, so it's going to be the same. We'll go ahead and print. Okay, that is printing. Oh, that looks nice. I'm going to cut off some of this excess paper. Okay. I think this is lined up. Okay. All right. Now we do love going on denim, and even if I mess up the placement, I think it's still important to see how good those colors turn out. Because it just for some reason works so beautifully on denim fabric. This, of course, I would do on both pockets. Make sure they get it nice and sized right on both. Oh my gosh. Look at that. I probably would go bigger. I think I really could go bigger on that and fill even more of that area. But is that not the cutest thing ever? And even with it going over that seam, it is perfect. I would buy a pair of these pants and make that bigger in a heartbeat. Look how good that looks. Yay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and do my finish press on this one while I'm thinking about it. And again, I'm not as worried now about it being even. I just really want to make sure there's enough pressure on there. Do a good little finish press. There you go. I love that. And while I'm standing here, I'm going to do a finish press on my t-shirt too.
Lori said that her granddaughter turned her nose up at having her uncle's hand-me-down jean jacket, but she's going to press something onto it and see if she can get a better reaction.
Especially with those cheetah prints. Oh my gosh, perfect. No kid could resist cheetah print on a book. Alright, got my finish press on that. I think that is absolutely adorable, and I think that may be one of your favorite designs, so I think this is going to become a t-shirt. Alright, let's talk about my canvas pants. So, stand in front of an actual camera instead of halfway in between them. Okay. So, I had a conversation with Lindsay this morning. We talked about all of these. I showed her my finds from the Goodwill. And we talked about specifically with these pants, putting flowers kind of all over them. So I'll probably do one or two. I think I may have time to get to my final project after all. So I'm probably just going to put one or two just to kind of show you what my plan is. This one, it feels like my seams are good as long as I'm keeping the pocket out on one side and this base out on the other. I don't think I'm going to have a problem. I'm going to put these on the front and the back so I don't have to worry about that like I did with my dragon. Okay, perfect. All right, pre-pressed and ready to go. So I would probably, I'll show you how I'm going to do this. I'll probably do 2 or 3, just to kind of give you an idea on this one. All right. We go all the way out. And I think this is one where I'm going to do a full 11 by 17 sheet. Well, actually, let me not make the mistake I made before. I need to make sure that my images, probably going to keep them in the 4-inch wide range. And that's because if I were to put a flower here and put a flower here and put a flower here and kind of just put them, I don't want them to completely cover the leg. So I think 4 inches is going to be safe. And then however tall. Okay. So we're going to go to our blank sheets. We're going to go to our 11 by 17. And I found a flower this morning that I absolutely adored. Now, as you see me working through our artwork, anything with the diamond, you do have to have that My Sawgrass Plus membership to be able to use that. It is $12.95 per month that you can sign up for. We're going to go ahead and get in our flowers. This again, and there are so many things you could do with this. I fell in love with this guy this morning, but as you see, the mushrooms could work as well, especially a mushroom like this. Mushrooms are extremely popular right now, so that's something. I may change that undercolor just because I'm going on to khaki if I were to use that. But I really, really, really love this particular flower. Now, we did say that we wanted to go with a width of 4. And I actually could go ahead and put a few on here and do the work here. And I hit the wrong button. Okay. Instead of me doing my ganging and nesting in the other program, just because I am using a blank sheet, I will do it here. Get a few of these going. Let's see if we can fit one more. Yeah, I think so. Move this guy up a little bit, this guy up a little bit. Now, of course, you don't have to do all of the same flower. As you saw when we were over here, there were some other leaves. We talked about creating a collection a few weeks ago. I think any of these would work together if you wanted to put a variety of flowers, or even some leaves on here too. I just really love this particular one. I'm going to use it. All right, we'll go ahead and send that over. All right, that is sending. Good to see the fabric softener. Hasn't been an issue with anything else. It was only with those sweatpants, and that comes down to material too, why that would matter more on that one than on some of these others. All right, perfect. Okay, I do need light colors on this one. We're going to go ahead and change that to tabloid. There they all are. Make sure they fit, and they do. And I'll go ahead and hit print. Now I have a couple of options here as we look at this. So I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors. I'm going to cut them all out, and I'm going to press as many as I can press on the press at one time. But you also, of course, could leave like these two together and these two together. So the left side together and the right side together. Like I said, I'll probably cut them all apart and see how I can fit them as I put them on there. So we'll do a little cut and paste before we get very far. Not to date myself, but I am old enough that I remember literal cut and paste in the newspaper industry, where when you were doing final edits, you would actually cut out the bad words or words that were typos and put in the new one physically on a piece of paper on the wall. So I actually know why we call it cut and paste. All right, Rose, any other questions?
No questions.
All right, any good comments?
A lot of discussion. I mean, Lori said when it comes to the fabric softener, in order to get that out, wash it with white vinegar. She says that she promises it won't smell like a salad apple. It's white vinegar, not balsamic, not apple cider.
Not balsamic, not apple cider. It is kind of funny because some vinegars are good for your house, some vinegars are good for your diet. So it's just funny how that all happens. And I don't think there's a category as useful as vinegars in general to life. This is what happens when we are doing live demos, ladies and gentlemen. We end up waxing poetic about vinegar. Okay. And of course, I'm just making sure that as these drop down, that I'm not dropping them on top of each other, and that they're falling neatly on my paper or on my desk. I'm gonna trim decently close on these just so I can see where everything falls. Okay. Perfect. We'll grab a couple of these guys, put them on the leg, and go from there. Again, really the big thing here is just making sure that they don't overlap like paper-wise. You can kind of twist and turn these a little bit to maybe get a third one on this side. Let me see if there's one. That'll fit. You, of course, the other thing you have to be careful with is, because this is on paper, We want to make sure that the design is actually touching the fabric. I think I did that. Now, the only thing with this is I have 3 peels to do, so I'm not going to talk, I'm going to peel really fast. You may be better off doing one at a time because of that hot peel. Let's see how this works. I think this fabric does not have much stretch in it, so I think I'm going to get lucky on this. But you know, I learn as I go. That's part of what I do in the workshops is I learn. I won't repeat the same mistake twice. But I may show you what the mistake is, just so you know. Look at that, I got all 3. Okay. All right. So this one, I probably did need a pressing pad, and that is because of the seam on the back. So I got a little too close to that line on that one. But check that out. Aren't those flowers amazing? They look so good. All right, finishing press. Okay, and again, about 5 seconds. Look at that. Those are great. And these are actually the back of the pants. So I probably wouldn't even worry too much about one being weird. I would just keep going. And cover all of my pants with my flowers. Because those flower pants are really, really cool. All right. What time is it, Rhodes?
10:53.
10:53. So I don't think I'm going to get all through the press on this, but I do want to show you what my idea was.
Hand me your trash.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I want to show you what I was thinking. Even if we don't get to this, I wanted to at least kind of show you my idea.
Lori said those were gorgeous, and Miriam said she's going to have to rush to her craft room now.
I know, right? And like I said, there are, you saw the other flowers that match that color palette that you could do different flowers. And those are just so adorable. All right. I still think this may be the coolest thing ever, but I do love my flower pants too. And the cheetah pocket, if you expanded it, would be great. I was a little conservative on my print area. All right. Okay. Now, I am putting this, if you didn't see it earlier, I'm putting it on this polo shirt. I'm going to go right here. I know that pocket type designs on a polo shirt need to be within a 4x4 area. Maybe be a little smaller and do like a 3x3. So I'm going to go 4x4 on this just to give myself some room to work. And let's go into the sports category. Because I was thinking it'd be nice if Dad had a shirt that he could have on, wear during the day, and you know, then bring it for the game at night. Let me actually do this instead. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do this one for soccer. And we're going to use... There's one earlier that I really, really liked. I think it was this guy. Alright.
Shelly asked in the comments, after you print and iron on the first flower, can you overstack the flowers a bit?
You can. So if I were doing them like I put one on and then put the next one on, it's not going to matter. As long as you know the design's not going on top of the design, you're perfectly fine with that. Okay. Just make sure, of course, that you're using blowout paper. Okay, I love, as you already know, the font filter in this program because I'm going to look at some block fonts. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go in and type. And again, I could use the same font. I could go a little bit different on the font. I'm going to go on it with a nice sans serif on this. A thicker sans serif. And this would be a great place. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. To use our text effects. So I could go in and I could curve this around the top. And then wouldn't that look so great on my polo shirt? Just that little design, just so Dad could wear his shirt to work and then to the game, to the match after. But I really, really love this concept of using this on a polo shirt. Works with a lot of with any sports design, whether it's in our program or not. But I think it's a great idea. So we are out of time, but I've had so much fun. This may have to become a quarterly thing. Is Rhonda makes a trip to the Goodwill and then we do some fashion, or I may just pull some stuff out of my closet next time. But thank you so much for joining us. We do have a podcast dropping on Friday. That is going to be with Dimple Patel. So that is our Chief Product Officer here at Sawgrass, and she's going to talk all about our software and how it can help you in your business. And so please make sure and check that out on Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon Music. Rhodes, was there anything else before I run?
No, you are caught up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had fun. You enjoyed my mistakes and my lessons about fabric softener and the conversations you got to have about fabric softener in the chat. So have a good day. See you next week. Bye-bye.